Hey, welcome back. Today we're diving into a player who split NFL fandom like few others, Vontaze Burfict, a fiery middle linebacker who could make your jaw drop with a tackle or make you shake your head with another helmet-to-helmet flag, sometimes in the same game. Was he a great player? Among us? A misunderstood warrior? A cautionari tale? We're doing all of it today. Tape, stats, stories, suspensions, and the what-ifs that haunt his legacy. Buckle up. Quick reminder, if you like deep dives with a little attitude, hit subscribe and drop a comment. What was your first Burfict moment? Who was he? Early life and college start with the human stuff. Every controversial athlete is also a person with a backstory. Background: Vontaze Burfict grew up in Torrance, California, and played his college ball at Arizona State. He wasn't just physical, he had instincts. Coaches loved his feel for the play, his ability to sniff out screens, and his knack for tackling in traffic. But those instincts came with an edge that sometimes overflowed into penalties. Short, humanizing anecdote idea. Mention a coach or teammate quote about his intensity. If you use a specific quote in the final edit, I can pull one and cite it. College reputation. At Arizona State, he had a reputation for playing on the edge, literally piling up personal fouls. One stat that followed him to the draft: he accumulated a very high number of personal fouls in college, which scouts flagged as behavioral risk, even before he declared for the NFL. That reputation would become a through line of his career. Pause. Have you ever had a teammate who was brilliant but impossible to coach? Tell me about them in the comments. I want to hear your stories. Draft Day and early NFL years draft. Burfict came out as an early entrant and was selected by the Cincinnati Bengals in the second round of the 2012 NFL Draft. That pick raised eyebrows. Some teams love the playmaking, others fear the flags. You can show a quick draft day clip or screenshot here for texture. Rookie impact. He made an immediate impact. He led the Bengals in tackles as a rookie and quickly became the heartbeat of that front seven when he was on the field. He wasn't just volume tackling. He made tackles that changed down in distance and could diagnose plays fast. Pro Bowl nod in 2013 showed the upside. Mini analysis breakdown. What rookie instincts looked like on tape. 1. Pre-snap scouting. He loved to read guard sets and adjust blitz lanes. 2. Tackle technique. Wrapped up quickly, low center of gravity, forceful. 3. Play anticipation. He often arrived at the point of attack early, which led to great tackles, but sometimes led to late hits when the ball carrier's path changed. If you saw Burfict in his rookie season, what did you think? Do you remember tweeting about a play? Share your reaction. Part 3. Peak play. What he did best. Let's separate ability from behavior. On his best days, Burfict was elite in several areas. Tackling and pursuit. He could close from his second level quickly, make contact, and finish with textbook form. He wasn't a one-gap thumper. He could flow sideline to sideline. Play clip idea. Sideline-to-sideline tackle that prevents TD. Instincts and recognition. He read screens, motions, and formations well. On zone blitz concepts, his presence allowed coordinators to be creative. Ball skills and turnovers. He created turnovers at crucial times. Even opponents grudgingly acknowledged his knack for being around the ball. Short tactical breakdown, small points. Run fits. He played the seam aggressively, could fill A and B gaps and shove linemen with leverage. Coverage. Not a coverage wizard, but decent in short zones and effective on hot routes. Special teams. Early on, he contributed and showed a visceral love of contact that made him a favorite on kick coverage. Anecdote to spice it up. Coaches would sometimes say Burfict's play made teammates play up. The defense felt more aggressive when he was in the middle. That intangible, leader through force of personality, is easy to overlook in clean stat lines. Part 4. The dark side, penalties, hits, and the pattern. Now, let's talk about the other half of the ledger, the pattern that defined his reputation. High-profile hits. The most infamous was the helmet-to-helmet collision that knocked out Antonio Brown in the 2016 AFC wildcard game. A play that swung the game and is replayed whenever people ask, was Burfict malicious or just hard? Brown's injury and the resulting penalty helped the Steelers win. Burfict later apologized in person, but the moment cemented his image for many. 2019 Raiders suspension. After signing with the Raiders, Burfict was suspended for the remainder of the 2019 season following a helmet-to-helmet hit on Colts tight end Jack Doyle. The league cited his extensive history of rules violations in handing the season-long ban. That was the longest on-field suspension of its kind at the time and essentially ended his on-field NFL run. Punitive totals. Across his career, he amassed an extraordinary list of fines and suspensions. Multiple suspensions, millions in fines and forfeited salary. That ledger changed how teams viewed him as a liability versus an asset. We'll put the hard numbers on screen here, e.g., games suspended and reported fines/forfeitures totals. Breakdown. Why did this happen? Let's split causes into smaller, digestible points. 1. Playing style and instincts. He attacked with the head as a point of contact more than many peers. When you play with that lead with the crown style against modern rules, you rack up flags. 2. Repeat offender effect. Early hits made the league and refs more likely to flag or punish subsequent infractions. In other words, history amplified consequences. 3. On-field decision-making. Not every illegal hit looked intentional on tape. Sometimes his momentum and angle created unintended helmet contact. But the outcome, player injured, head contact, is what mattered to officials. 4. Off-field optics. A few unsavory moments in interviews and public interactions hardened public perception, even when he tried to explain himself. Audience question. Do you think players should be judged by intent or outcome? Drop a one-word answer, intent or outcome, and explain why in the comments. Part 5, tape breakdown, 3 plays that define him. Let's take 3 representative plays and unpack them. Play by play, what he saw, and whether the call was fair. 1. Antonio Brown hit, 2016 wild card. Final seconds, Browns/Steelers game. Burfict breaks on the crossing Brown. Helmet strikes helmet. Penalty sets Steelers in field goal range. Here's the layered view. What Burfict likely saw, short crossing route, need to close and stop the gain. What happened? He lunged, and the forearms/head region contacted Brown's head. Judgment. Outcome was bad. Brown concussed, and penalty decided the game. Burfict's intent remains debated, but in NFL rules the result and head contact matter. 2. Preseason hit versus Anthony Sherman, 2017 preseason, led to a suspension that was reduced on appeal. This is a good case study of how video angles and appeals can change league discipline. Lesson. The league's process includes appeals and review. Sometimes suspensions get reduced, showing the gray area in instantaneous rulings. 3. Jack Doyle hit, 2019. Clear helmet-to-helmet that the league used as cause for a season-long suspension. Lesson. By 2019, the NFL's tolerance for repeat violations had dropped. The league signaled that similar infractions would lead to harsher cumulative discipline. Technical takeaway. On-tape Burfict was often close to being brilliant and close to being illegal. That razor. Consequences, fines, suspensions, and the financial/roster impact. Let's get concrete about the cost. Over his career, Burfict was fined and suspended multiple times. Some reports placed total fines and lost salary in the multi-millions. Teams paid him and then often missed him because suspensions removed him from availability. That trade-off, talent versus availability, is where front offices make decisions, and many eventually decided the cost was too high. Roster decisions. Cincinnati released him in 2019. Raiders signed him, but then saw limited availability. Practically, his discipline history reduced his market value and turned him into a short-term gamble for teams. Hypothetical moment. Imagine you're a GM in 2018 with the cap space to sign Burfict. Do you take the plunge for a season-changing player who might be suspended half the year? Would you structure the contract with heavy game-by-game guarantees? Think about it. If you were the GM, type sign or pass and why. Part 7, Legacy and Larger Impact. Time to synthesize. How should we remember Burfict? On one side, An instinctive, high-impact linebacker who could change games with tackles, turnovers, and sheer presence. His play on the field, when legal, was above average to elite at times. He made plays most linebackers couldn't. On the other side, a repeat rule breaker whose style collided with modern safety priorities. His repeated infractions change how the NFL policed hits and how teams weighed risk. Cultural note, Burfict forced a conversation. How do you balance aggressive play with player safety? He's become a reference point when the league disciplines others. That ripple effect, how one player's reputation nudges officiating and disciplinary policy, is part of his legacy. Comparison mini section. Compare Burfict to other polarizing defenders, e.g., Myles Garrett, different context, or past enforcers whose style was allowed historically but not now. The point. Okay, short answer. When on the field and playing clean, Burfict was an above-average to elite playmaker at linebacker. Long answer. His repeated rule violations, suspensions, and the way he sometimes put others at risk mean you can't call him a net positive for teams across seasons. He's one of those players whose peak shows real top-tier talent, but who also became a long-term liability. Parting question for the audience. Do you forgive a player for repeated mistakes if they help you win? Or does certain behavior disqualify them forever? I want to hear your take. Be honest, be civil, and let's talk in the comments.